So, so the bay is an important area to help to protect them because it provides them with food. And just like the bay here at the aquarium, we provide them with food. So our divers are going to feed them specifically, because as top predators, of course, if we fed them at the same time as all of the other fish, they would get the most and probably also cause some damage to anybody who got in their way. So we want to make sure that they never get so hungry that they compete with the other fishermen. So our divers are going to specifically be feeding the seven-gill sharks. And so that means that they are going to be holding the food out to the sharks on tongs. And two divers have these PVC grids that help them control the crowd so that the other fish don't come in and try to compete with the seven-gill sharks. Naturally, we don't want those other fish to get in the way and maybe even get hurt. So they will use those PVC guards to guide the other fish away and guide the sharks to the food. So just to make sure that they know where it is. While the center diver might die from an encounter with a shark, but 70 to 100 million sharks every year die from encounters with humans, or human nets, or fish hooks that maybe weren't even intended for them, because of unsustainable fishing practices that humans engage in. So in order to protect our sharks, we want to protect them from those kinds of fishing practices by not only eating and choosing sustainable seafood, which is really, really important and a great way to help our sharks, but also by making sure that there are certain areas of the ocean that are protected from fishing altogether. And that enables sharks to breed and replenish their marine sanctuary, which is a marine sanctuary where it's sort of like an underwater park that fish can reproduce in, and also they will be able to replenish their numbers there. There will be plenty of food for them, and they're protected from fishing and from hunting. They're protected a little bit from the pollution that happens in the rest of the ocean. And while we want to protect our whole oceans, while we're working on that, we also want to establish these marine protected areas. And that's one of the things that the Bay Institute, our policy-making partner, is working on. If you want to help out with that, we greatly support you writing to your representatives and saying that you support marine sanctuaries because they help to protect the species that we have in the area, not just for our own uses like fishing, but for the future generations. So if anybody has any questions about our seven-gill sharks, I'm happy to take those now. And so you know, if you're just coming into the tunnel, our seven-gill sharks are being fed here at the center of the tunnel. You're welcome to take photos, but we ask that you don't use flash for the divers so that they're able to see what they're doing. As you might imagine, it's pretty important that they can see where the sharks are if they're trying to feed them. So, does anybody have any questions about anything that I've been talking about? You can throw up a hand, I'll make my way to you. All right. Well, I can tell you a few. Oh, there's this little guy over here just lost his fish. I'll have to come back.
请抓紧扶手或坐下。使用梯级时，必须抓紧扶手，请小心照顾同行的儿童。谢谢。
En estos momentos estamos saliendo del puerto. Las olas y el viento durante este viaje pueden causar que el barco se mueva de repente. Por favor, permanezca sentado o sosténgase de los pasamanos. Por favor, use los pasamanos mientras baja las escaleras. Los niños deben de estar al cuidado de un adulto en todo momento. Gracias.
All right, folks, welcome aboard Harbor Emperor. Just a couple quick announcements. Might be a little rough out the Golden Gate Bridge. If it is, use caution moving about the vessel. Use the handrails. Take a seat. No standing on the benches at any time for any reason.
Steel reinforcements in a 50,000-ton foundation buried deep underground. Impressive numbers, but numbers alone can't tell the story of the Golden Gate Bridge. There's more to it than steel and concrete. For many, it has become a symbol of America's hope, as inspiring and recognizable as the Statue of Liberty.
When you're standing on that deck, you can feel it vibrate. You can feel it sway back and forth in the wind. The entire bridge hums like a harpsichord.
Lived on that barren rock, were were flocks of pelicans. In fact, that's where Alcatraz got its name. The Spanish named the island after the pelicans, Los Alcatrazes. The U.S. Army decided Alcatraz was the perfect place for a fort to defend the bay from invaders. But this cold and windy rock was such an unpleasant place that they changed their minds. It was now the perfect place for a military prison, and eventually a federal penitentiary. It was a time when gangsters were becoming heroes to people. The government needed to send a message that crime did not pay. So they created Alcatraz, the very last stop in the country's prison system. The place to send the worst criminals of all.
My name is Leon Whitey Thompson. My number was 1465, AZ 1465. I was a man that had total hatred in them days. I hated anything that was on this earth. And when you got a man like that in prison, you got to get rid of him. And that's what they did. They shoved me in Alcatraz.
These were hard men, kidnappers, bank robbers, killers, men so dangerous that when the first batch arrived by train in 1934, not one was allowed to step down onto free soil. They simply loaded the train cars, one by one, onto barges, and floated them out to the island with the inmates chained up inside. Rumor was that if a man died on Alcatraz, his corpse would leave the same way, stone cold dead, but in chains. With men like these, you could never be too careful. The building you see on top of the hill was the inmates' new home, the Alcatraz cell house. One described it as a tomb of living souls. Some would stay for a year, others for 20 or 25 years or more. To get an idea of accommodations inside, go ahead and reach your arms out as far as you can from side to side. That's how wide an Alcatraz cell is, 5 feet across. Now reach your
If we'll fit.
Let's pray we fit.